All right, welcome back. First Take live in New Orleans ahead of Super Bowl 59. Our other quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, here. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
I heard you're getting people a little fired up with some hot takes. It's the rumor on the street.
People are emotional.
Oh.
Highly emotional.
But never you.
Oh.
I mean, never. Far be it for anybody to think you're emotional.
I'm pretty in control.
Yeah, me too.
Unless I'm watching a romantic comedy.
I love a good rom-com.
He just admitted that on
Love a rom-com. I like mob movies and rom-coms.
Hey.
All right, here's what Dan had to say. Take a listen. It's called Range Camp.
I don't think there's anything that Jalen can do to be in the conversation with those three guys as players. I agree with your point that the Super Bowl it elevates the perception of him, but talent-wise, I don't think Jalen's ever going to be into that group. But if he wins a Super Bowl, then those three guys, we're going to have the conversations of when are they and if they will ever jump into there. But Stephen A., if I asked you to rank those four guys right now, like you get to draft those four guys right now, you're not taking Jalen Hurts over any of them.
Yes.
Correct?
No, you're not.
Those three guys, we know who they are. Burrow, Lamar, Allen. Cam?
He's right. He's right. But I would say this in defense of Jalen. He's not asked to do what those guys are asked to do, right? Because you think about it, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow needs to perform at a high level for his team to have a chance. Lamar Jackson needs to perform at a high level for his team to have a chance. Okay, who else? Patrick Mahomes needs to perform at a high level for his team.
He ain't in this conversation. We talking about Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar. Yeah, leave
Patrick's in a conversation of his own.
Yeah. Own category.
My fault. I'm good. Josh Allen needs to perform at a high level for his team to have a chance. When you think about Jalen Hurts just doesn't need to decimate the game.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to. Okay, root word of game changer is an elite player. It's not set up for him to be elite because in his team's dynamic, he doesn't necessarily need to be. And that's not a hit to him. It's just the infrastructure of his team, how his team is set up.
He ain't lie. I mean, that's why they went out and got Saquon.
Yes.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes has really never had that. He doesn't need that because they ask him to do different things. And I think sometimes when you say, well, he's a game manager, he's not asked to do what these other quarterbacks, people take about you hating or you're trying to take a shot at it. Yeah. Everybody's not asked to do the same things in order to win. Right. Look at John. In our first Super Bowl, John was not asked to be John Elway. TD ran us there. Yes, we had a quarterback that was a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you look at Saquon and you look at Jalen Hurts, if the question is, if Saquon doesn't run crazy, do we believe Jalen Hurts can throw for 300 yards, 350, and win this game if Saquon doesn't go off? Because look at the first game he had 112, and then he had 121, and then I think he threw for over 200.
Right.
And he's played well. He hasn't turned the ball over. Mm-hmm. But D.O. is right. He didn't say anything wrong. I don't think if you draft those three guys, says, okay, you get a draft, and we know what we know right now as we sit here. You get Joe Burrow, you get Josh Allen, you get Lamar Jackson, and you get Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to get picked last by every team other than Philly.
Well, he's right about that. Y'all are right. But let me give some pushback in this regard. So if Jalen Hurts goes in the Super Bowl, and let's say, for example, he imitates or emulates his performance from 2 years ago.
Okay.
300-plus yards,
yep.
70 yards rushing, accounting for 4 touchdowns.
Yes.
Only turnover was a lost fumble. If he goes into the Super Bowl, plays like that, he's the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles win, not an explosive performance by Saquon Barkley. Then all of a sudden, when we start talking about Allen and Lamar, okay, and Joe Burrow, we're going to be looking at them and going like this. Okay, you got the talent, but he did something y'all didn't do.
Right.
And by the way, he will have beaten Patrick Mahomes in order to do it.
Right.
You Lamar Jackson, you haven't beaten Lamar. You haven't beaten Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. You are Josh Allen. You haven't beaten Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. If Jalen Hurts does that on the Super Bowl stage, emulating his performance from 2 years ago, and he's the reason that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl championship, do we not get to look at him differently? And do we not get to look at them and say, excuse me, you got to at least be able to do what Jalen Hurts did?
Yeah. That's the only way the narrative changes, though.
That's a big narrative change.
No, I know, but I totally agree with that. We said that on Monday or Tuesday when that clip is from. Because if you go back to the Super Bowl last year, Brock Purdy, I thought, played fantastic, but they lost. So no one visually or narrative-wise thinks of Brock Purdy differently. And kind of that's I think the more interesting question is Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy? Because what have we said about Brock Purdy for 3 years now?
This year.
What have we said about Brock Purdy for 3 years?
I don't know. I don't know if people think of Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts at the same level.
Why not?
I'm just telling you, from the narrative of hosting First Take, I think that Jalen Hurts has the edge.
Why?
I'm just telling you.
But that would be my question. If Brock Purdy everyone has said, well, he's got the #1 defense. It's the great offensive line. He's got Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He's got Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. So the pushback was he's the game manager.
Yeah.
He did it at a high level.
Yeah.
Didn't get it done. And so it was a fair question of where you place him and whatnot. You have to give him credit that with all that around him, got him to the Super Bowl. Probably would have taken him to the Super Bowl 2 years ago if he doesn't get hurt type of thing. We'll never know. With Jalen Hurts, it's a very similar situation, though. #1 offensive line, Saquon Barkley, top 2 or 3 wide receiver duo, #1 defense. But he's got him to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. You got to go win it to really change the narrative. But I don't think anyone's looking at Jalen Hurts going, oh, if he wins it, outside of that remarkable Herculean performance he's talking about, you're not taking him over Josh or Joe or Lamar.
You know, I think what has happened is that now this ring culture and this championship is clouded our vision. Because, he won a ring, so now he's a better player. No, we got to look at a situation that's like, okay, come on, let's be real now. Right. You can be a great player and not win a championship, and you can be a good player and win a championship. Right. And I think the thing is now that what we've done, this ring culture has got us jaded. Right. It's got us seeing, like, bro, come on now.
I love Nick Foles. Yeah. I love Nick Foles, Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan's not a Super Bowl champion.
Why are you making all these faces?
Because if you know, you know. You talk about the individuality, you talk about the selfishness, you talk about everything about Cam Newton is blah, 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 blah. Impact, in my opinion, is greater than championships. Everybody's not going to be Shannon Sharpe. Everybody's not going to have the cachet as an individual person and still win rings. Not me, right? So when you're talking about Brock Purdy, when you're talking about Jalen Hurts, when you're talking about these people, just because they win, and it is skewed, it is dated.
Sure.
But let's put things into perspective here. Mm-hmm. The thing now that I have to go back to the topic and ask, is it because he has not? That doesn't mean he cannot.
You're talking Jalen.
I'm talking about Jalen.
Yeah.
Right? When you talk about apples and apples and you talk about Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy, I'm taking Jalen Hurts because of the skill. When everything's equal, right? What's the common denominator? Jalen Hurts possesses more skill than Brock Purdy, and that's what I'm saying.
Well, it depends on the value of skill. Like, what